My name is Tammy Langtree, and I'm a curatorial assistant here at Zeitz MOCAA. Over the last year, I've been working with William Azuwagbogu, the exhibition curator, Sabine Tiernison, the exhibition designer, Kentridge Studio, and a number of other very important individuals who've been working with William for a number of years to put together the survey exhibition hosted in participation with Norval Foundation. And I think this was an important moment, and key was to consider the multiple geographies which the work exists in, and not just about an extension of the international projects and exhibitions that William has done, but also to bring it to this geography. And I think the symposium today is really about bringing in significant thinkers and makers to develop and add to the conversation of the exhibition. This morning, I'm going to almost immediately introduce our welcome speaker, Koyo Kouoh, who is our amazing, incredible executive director and chief curator. Thank you, yes. Prior to the Zeitz MOCAA appointment, Koyo was the founding artistic director of Raw Material Company, a center for art, knowledge, and society in Dakar since 2008. In independent curatorial practice, she has organized meaningful and timely exhibitions such as Body Talk, Feminism, Sexuality and the Body in the works of 6 African women artists. She curated Still the Barbarians' 37th ever International, the Irish Biennale in Limerick in 2016, and more recently she participated in the 57th Carnegie International in Pittsburgh with a deeply researched Dig Where You Stand. Active in the critical field of the arts community in a Pan-African and international scope, Kouoh has a remarkable list of publications under her name: Word, 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 Isa Samp and the Undecipherable Form, and Condition Report on Building Art Institutions in Africa, to name a few. She has served as curator of the educational and artistic program of 154 Contemporary African Art Fair for 8 consecutive editions in London and New York, as well as on the curatorial teams for Documenta 12 and 13. I'm very honored to invite Koyo up to the stage to welcome and officially open the day for us. Thank you, Koyo.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Tammy. You say so many nice things about me. I'm not sure if all of them are true. So, it seems like Cape Townians like to think on Sunday mornings. The room is full. It's amazing. It's a pleasure to have you all here. What happens at the Ages? This event is brought, of course, on the occasion of William's show, but it's also, I think, a very important moment to dissect an artist. We were sitting at breakfast earlier with William, and he expressed a little bit. I'm putting you a little bit on the spot here, sorry. He expressed a little bit his nervousness about an event like this, and I told him that he dissects himself better through his work. What happened through the exhibition, William asked a very meaningful question, which is about hesitation and action and intention, all of which are reactions that we at times plague us, all of us, for me, daily, having to make decisions almost hourly. You're constantly, question the righteousness of your decisions. So perhaps because of our actions mark our time and define our moment, and then later reflect on the passing of time and the passing of history in a sort of a way. The exhibition explores this through the process of drawing and presents 4 decades of William practice. Once the idea of hosting part of the exhibition came to light, and we pondered on his contribution to the arts, we asked ourselves, how can we expand on this question of hesitation? So a day of critical thinking and critical conversation and question, and I hope that the day will be as lively as William's work itself is, as exciting and as contradictory, as oppositional as it can be. And it is also for me a great pleasure to open, I was told, the very first discursive event at Zeitz MOCAA. So a few months ago, when I arrived in Cape Town, I had a kind of a commencement speech where I invited what I consider the curatorial, institutional, academic family of the museum, because I come from a culture where your neighbor, your immediate neighbor is your family. It's your first family. So I think institutionally, there is a culture that I would like to bring here, which is of togetherness. And during that meeting, where around 40, 50 colleagues from universities, from other institutions showed up to welcome me in Cape Town, I remember that I spoke about the museum as a site of knowledge. And I strongly believe that as much as we can put up wonderful exhibitions on the walls, and we can have amazing events around those exhibitions, there is one form of event that we cannot live without, which is the critical part, the interpretative, the mediative, how do you guys say it? The translative kind of, the way we understand artworks, the way we understand practices is through how we reflect on them and how we tell ourselves about them. My own curatorial practice is very much drenched on understanding the trajectory of art making and understanding what comes or what feeds into an artistic practice. So William's work presents fascinating riddles that probe and question the impact of individual action on history and vice versa. I mean, where the personal becomes public, where the personal becomes political, and where the political is personal. So this symposium's title, What Happens at the Edges, is both a question and a statement, which was extracted from the numerous metaphors and symbols that William has used in many of his performances, and in many of, not just of his performance lectures, but I mean, he's quite eloquent in his own right in explaining and talking about his work. So we took what happens at the edges, but we also could have taken what is the value of the less good idea, for instance, because this is one of the metaphors he works with very clearly. And the other one that I love very much and that I actually hope that one day I will have time to work around it, which is the rough shape of ignorance, which is a metaphor William used at some point to describe the state of South Africa. So over time, he has spoken about the activity that can potentially take place at those edges. For example, the hovering of ideas, the bringing together of several seemingly unrelated elements, the reflection of life in the studio, and persistent peripheral thought and vision connected to the central idea. Today, we aim to closely examine the very concerns that these important margins, how do they inform the centers? What has been erased, omitted, covered, or requires reiterations? All of this is important in order to investigate, contextualize, and extend dialogue around the pertinent thematics that emanate from William's work and others. So as you can see, when moving through the gallery spaces today, there is a reflection of both personal and collective memory, trauma, and nostalgia. There are narratives that are drawn from various places such as the apartheid area, the Roman Empire, the Cold War, and colonialism and neocolonialism. Therefore, William's work can be viewed as a starting point from which we can extend discourse. This is where we can add, subtract, probe, and interrogate further. We are so honored to have some of the best thought leaders here today to help us further this dialogue. Our speakers and performance artists have all produced critically engaging discourse within their various disciplines and focus. So they include, we will begin with Caroline Christophe Bakarkiev, who will be joining us via Skype due to floods in the south of France and the west of Italy. Her museum is flooded, so she cannot move, but she is here via technology. Unfortunately, we have to excuse Achille Mbembe, but I think I'm not the only one who have to excuse Achille Mbembe, who's not coming. Andrew Lamprecht is here, Anke Kroch, whom I have the great, great pleasure of seeing again. Anke and I have a long history, past how can I put it? It's such a pleasure to see Anke. I'm digressing now, and this is even almost a little bit personal. Anke and I did an amazing trip 25 years ago, something like that. We drove from Dakar to Timbuktu, so she can tell you all about it. And Ashraf is here, such a pleasure, welcome to have you. Caroline Hamilton, Emma Bedford is here. Iman Isaacs, Jane Taylor, thank you. Michael Godby, Nkule Maboso, Primesh Lalou, Richard September, Storm, my dear colleague, which I can't welcome enough, who joined us a few months ago as a senior curator, Themba Stewart. We are all looking forward to your contributions today. So, thank you very much for your attention, and I think I have to give the word back to Tammy.